What's good, my fellow peasants? How you all doing? Just woke up and I was going to do this video later on in the week, but after seeing 4 or 5 comments just this morning and how many I had yesterday and the day before and the day before, Peasant, do you think Versus 13 will happen? Do you want it to happen? Will you sign this petition? Do you think the rumours are true that it's going to be remade? So I thought I'd cover this video. This is what the petition looks like. Now, just going on the very basis of a petition being remade, I'm going to be completely open and honest in this video. Would I still like Versus 13 to be done? Yes. I was saying this before even 15 came out. It's on record. I have the videos. Weeks, even months before 15 came out, I said, you know what, I still would like them to do Versus 13. So I am not saying this out of any dissatisfaction for 15. I liked it, and that's the reason I could not sign this petition. Just looking at the wording straight away, I mean, for fuck's sake, why did they have to do this? You could really have perhaps got a petition going to really still see the concepts of Versus 13. Perhaps not realised in the world of EOS. Perhaps the main character would have been Noctis, because right there at the very base principle of it, that does not make sense. Square Enix are not going to do this. There's no way they're going to still make Versus 13. It's just a fact. There's no way they're going to create a game that is going to directly contradict another game they've just made that is perhaps their most successful Final Fantasy, and even their most successful game in history. To be honest, Final Fantasy 15 is really shaping up to look like that, or one of the most successful. So would they create a game that's going to directly contradict that? No, and Versus 13 would contradict it. Noctis' story would be different. No, what would Noctis' story be? Would it be what happened in 15 or Versus 13? So it really isn't going to happen, I'm sorry to say, and it certainly isn't going to happen with only 914 supporters. It simply isn't enough. That's not going to be pushing anything, especially considering around about 4.5 million people have played this, and by and large, there just isn't enough disliking for this game. It's getting great scores, 8.5s, 9s. A lot of people saying exactly what I'm saying. I loved the game. I loved the base concept. I liked where it was going. It just needed more meat to the bones, the story. So it's a beautiful skeleton. It just needed more meat. It needed more cutscenes. It needed more cinematics. But continuing on with this, the reason why I couldn't sign this, Final Fantasy 15 released was a big betraying the fans. The fans' expectations. Was a big betraying the fans' expectations. Does that make sense to any of you? To me, that doesn't even seem grammatically correct. It's early in the morning, so forgive me if it does. Right there, you've started on a negative. You've started your petition by shitting on 15. Final Fantasy 15 was not a betrayal of anything. If you think it was a betrayal of Versus 13, this is what gets me. If we even continue kissing Tetsuya Nomura's ass, even in the comments, kissing Tetsuya Nomura's ass. There's just all this ass kissing of this has betrayed Nomura's vision and what Nomura had, and under his command this game would have been godlike status. Nomura's the reason this game was fucked. Nomura is the one who constantly changed and flipped on concepts. Nomura is the one who tried to expand it to a trilogy, then couldn't condense it. Nomura was the one who had a team of people who were, quote, exhausted and fretful. So, simple fact is, Nomura did not handle this project well. I've said it many times, I love Nomura, but on Versus 13, he fucked it. He dropped the ball. But continuing on, I strongly hope it doesn't involve Business Division 2 stuff. This whole thing is just worded so shitly. You could have had a petition, and then even if we just go to some of these links, they're actually dog shit. They were trying to find bad reviews, couldn't really find many, so they just found the ones where there were supposed rumours that Square Enix had banned companies like Wired for reviewing their copies for giving out low scores. Supposedly this Spanish website, they'd consistently been giving out bad scores, so Square Enix had blocked them. Can I believe that is true? Yeah, I can. I can fully believe it to be true. No, bad reviews from a very popular game review website in Spain is going to affect sales. Should they do that? No. This one, I mean, I don't even know why this is linked to the petition. This is, we were trying to do a review, Square Enix supposedly banned us, so instead we're just going to review Final Fantasy X plus 5 and that will be an accurate review for FF15. I mean, that is literally what it says. Here it is. We provide you today would-be reviews of FF10 and FF15, which you should be able to add together to create a review of FF15. Yeah, I know they're being facetious and they're just fucking around, but still, why have you attached this to this petition? Then we have Versus XIII trailers, kissing Versus XIII's ass, yada yada yada. Now, stopping right there. Okay, so I do like Versus XIII. I liked it as a concept. You guys know that. I was hooked on Versus XIII. And this is why I've pulled this up. A lot of people say we didn't know what was happening in Versus XIII. But based on those trailers, we could deduct quite a number of story arcs. And it had that dark grittiness in its style, in its themes, in how it was coming across that really intrigued people, really captivated people. And even if we now just go to the rumours that are coming out, and by the way, there have been about 3 or 4 different sources, and they are all kind of tying up. So here's another one. Versus XIII was so dark, it would have featured children murdering other children because of voices in their heads. That ties exactly back with the other rumour I covered. Supposedly the way people were going to turn into demons and lose their soul to the void is they were going to hear voices in their head, they were going to get slowly more and more aggressive and yada yada yada, and they were going to hear voices of loved ones in their head. We saw that with Nyx and Kingsglaive. I've seen that on other rumours, it has validity, but fuck it, continuing on. Yakuza offering families as familiars as sacrifices in order to gain powers, blood-spilling enemies, murdered girls coming back from death as beautifully designed female characters, and supposedly that is exactly what Stella was going to be. People say, oh, I really like Stella, no, Stella was going to be there at the end of the game. She actually wasn't, guys. Even I thought she was going to be there at the end of the game because we saw them fighting, obviously, in darkened Insomnia. But supposedly Insomnia was always going to be dark. It was always going to be night, perpetual night in the City of Death. And Stella was actually going to die at the start of the game. And the only person who could actually see her was Noctis throughout the game. And he was the only one. So yeah, that ties with that as well. That was from another rumour. So I'm telling you guys, if you think that Versus XIII was going to be a happier story, or you think that Stella was going to get more screen time than Luna, possibly not. Stella looked like she was going to die even earlier than Luna. People hurting themselves in order to view ghosts. That is really interesting. That is so dark, so great. I like that. An entire nation worshipping the idea of death. Again, that ties exactly with what I was saying about, it was so clear that Lucis were going to be etro worshippers. And that was going to be their chosen fallen deity. And you had all the skulls as emblems. And I mean, literally all those skulls that we saw in Kingsglaive, in Brotherhood, in concept art, in trailers, they make no damn sense now. When we look at the final product of 15, Noctis is just the king of light. The crystal is a crystal of light. Everything is light, 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 light. There was nothing to do with death. There was nothing to do with death worshipping. There was nothing to show that Noctis's household were corrupt, were bad. So again, it just doesn't make sense. I'm sorry to say. There is so much now from Kingsglaive and Brotherhood and earlier trailers that just do not make sense in Final Fantasy 15. Even conceptually on an art level. And finally, dog puppies that would transform into merciless ninjas. And again, a lot of people, when I do these rumour videos, I believe them. I 100% believe them because it ties in so well with everything we've seen. But people say, I don't believe it, I don't believe it, you're gullible for believing it. That right there is true. Dog puppies that would transform into merciless ninjas is true. We know Umbra had a human form. And all we have to do is go, first of all, to Umbra's wiki. Umbra was designed by Roberto Ferrari. Ferrari had designed characters that were cut from the final game. Ninja-type characters, similar to those who appeared in Kingsglaive, but more Japanese. Umbra the dog was supposed to turn into one of them. And if you don't believe Wiki saying it, let's just go to a quote from Ferrari himself. There were characters that I liked more but got removed, and this is the thing, Robert Ferrari's been very disappointed with a lot of designs he did that didn't appear in the game. It's been all over his Facebook, so that's really curious. This stays between us, but Umbra the dog was supposed to turn into one of those. Umbra was supposed to turn into a human, guys. And it was supposed to be a fucking ninja, like a Kingsglaive, and I just knew it. I mean, that even goes back to the quote of perhaps the dogs are more like Gentiana back in the day. Now that quote even makes sense even if they didn't turn into humans, because the dogs were messengers and Gentiana was a messenger. But I theorised for a long time that Umbra and Prina could turn into humans. And from Roberto Ferrari's words himself. So yeah, the reason I'm showing all of this is Versus 13. It looked amazing. It was the dark side of Final Fantasy. All of this makes even more sense because even Nomura himself said that Versus 13 was going to be so dark that at one stage they didn't even know if it would be suitable to be a Final Fantasy. So if anyone who's thinking children murdering other children because their voice in the head is too far, that is too extreme for Final Fantasy, yeah, and that was what Nomura was saying. He didn't think it would be suitable to be a Final Fantasy, too dark for even an FF. That is exactly what I wanted. You guys know for a long time that I wanted a Final Fantasy that was dark, that took dark to a whole new level. That's why I was super excited when Nomura said that about Versus 13, because I wanted something that was so dark, so gritty, that really did crazy out there stuff like children. It sounds sadistic, but children murdering other children. Something that went that far in the set of a Final Fantasy, structured like a Final Fantasy and told like a Final Fantasy, that would be my jam. That's exactly what I wanted. And Final Fantasy 15 was dark, but it didn't deliver anywhere close to that level. It got close, it got to a point I really liked, especially with Arden at the end when it had Luna and Nyx and Regis in the chains. And supposedly, according to the guidebook, they're not illusions, guys. What I'm going to say is it actually says in the guidebook that they're not illusions, they're actually their bodies. So I don't know, because they kind of disappeared. But I mean, that's dark. So there was a lot of dark in 15, but obviously it went nowhere close to what Versus 13 was. And that's why I would sign this petition. I would like to see concepts from Versus 13 remade into another game. I think there's no way they're going to actually remake Versus 13 for reasons I've already said. But can I sign this petition? Because you're just coming at it like a whiny little bitch. You're coming at it shitting on 15, a game I actually enjoyed, I actually liked. It's not a betrayal. And then if we just go to the comments, the only people who are signing it are people who are saying 15 was shit, 15 was shit. Many unforgivable bugs in a game that is just too much. Many unforgivable bugs? I played it for 60 hours and I think I had 2 and they were minor and they were hilarious. Why would you sign a Versus 13 petition for bugs? That makes fuck all sense. I hate FF15 final build. I loved FF15, but I felt betrayed because Tabata said many things in the end that never reached the final product. I mean, that is kind of true, as much as I don't like to say it, but in this petition there was also a video that shows everything that was cut from trailers, and there is quite a considerable amount. So yeah, they did sell story arcs in trailers that weren't entirely true. Please change the ending to a happy one. Long live Final Fantasy. Why the fuck have you signed a Versus 13 petition? If you want the FF15 to be happy, signing Versus 13 is not the way to do it. Square Enix made a rushed game, albeit it was fun, but I found it lacking in story. I found it seemed highly censored. This comment I can actually agree with. Yeah, it was rushed. 3 years for this game of this size, caliber and ambition, definitely rushed. I found it fun, I found it lacking in story, and it did seem highly censored. I actually agree with that comment. Again, love the game, but I'm signing because FF15 was a huge letdown compared to the storyline of Versus 13. I don't agree with that. FF15 wasn't a huge letdown. I did not actually feel let down. I really enjoyed it. The way I see it is that Versus 13 and FF15 are 2 different games. They just are. There are so many characters who are even different and concepts, character designs that are different, and the story, you could just tell, is so different. There's no point in even treating them like a game. So I don't see it why it's this either or. Either you hate 15 and want Versus 13 or what it was, or you like 15 and you're going to shit on anyone who says they liked Versus 13 as a concept. Oh no, you're an idiot. How can you say you like Versus 13? You knew nothing about it. I think there's a middle ground, and I think I occupy this middle ground. I think many of you occupy this middle ground, where you really enjoyed 15. But yeah, Versus 13 had a lot of intriguing concepts that you would like to still see be realised. Maybe in another game. Maybe in a Versus 13 reboot. Again, I don't think it will work, but I think it would be intriguing. I would like to see what it would have been. I followed that for so long. I followed Versus 13 for nearly 6 years. I want to see what it was going to be. So if you agree with that you are in the middle ground, go hit the like button. I'll actually leave a poll. I will leave a poll. This is a democracy. You can go up, you can vote, and yeah, let's just see, how do we all feel about this, about Versus 13 happening. Until the next video, guys. Kubo!
And I like good trees. Smoke so much weed you wouldn't believe. And I get more ass than a toilet seat. 3 to the 1, from the 1 to the 3. I met a bad bitch last night in the deep. Let me tell you how I made her leave with me. Conversation and AOC. I've been to the motherfucking mountaintop. Heard motherfuckers talk, seen them drop. If I ain't got a weapon, I'ma pick up a rock. And when I bust your ass, I'm gonna continue to rock. Get your ass on the wall.